that,
Is on the website, and then for teachers also, I sent it out in my newsletter, we have a curriculum newsletter, so.
like on the website, did we just put it on the website and hope they
Well,
saw it, or did?
But
they-
it was on
said
the
it.
minutes, and we said it here, and it was
Yeah.
on
It was
there.
on the media.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then we did send it to
Our staff.
teachers, staff.
and it goes all staff, so.
It was all staff.
Since we're kind of just discussing this, I know this is, we normally get a motion for this, but can you explain, because people might not understand, our last student day, and then we have like 2 weeks before graduation, can you just explain the rationale of doing that, so people understand?
The last student day, we moved back because, one, our school year was ending for seniors in December. And in the fact, as far as calculating grades for valedictorian, salutatory, and those things. And with the number of dual credit and AP courses that they take their senior year, something that the high school wanted to do and just felt we needed to change is to be able to count those classes until the last day of school. So a lot of times, we would sometimes last day of school, and that night would be graduation, or that next day. And I know it seems like a few days in there, but it's not uncommon that probably 2 or 3 or 4 of those days will probably be used, some as snow days. Because obviously, depending on when we get it, the students aren't prepared, and our teachers just don't have internet or Wi-Fi at home and the capabilities. If we can do virtual learning, and like we know on election days, and it is set up, the weather's pretty good in November, pretty good in April, we can plan those days in, and we're planning a couple days in where we can do some virtual learning to be able to provide professional development for our teachers. But most likely a few of those days, and we just build that in. And the other decision was just made, instead of trying to get it in that Friday night before, Memorial Day weekend, by allowing that Memorial Day weekend to be there and then just having it the following Friday. So we've done that once, and then obviously we've had COVID, and that graduation was in July. So this would be, continued.
So basically, it gives us a chance to make up some snow days if we have to, and then also gives a chance to calculate grades and
Grades
classrooms and things like that.
for B&L.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna make, I just thought that might be something people might not understand, is why there's such a lag there, but, thank you.
Okay, so,
I'm in
Wendy,
motion
did you make a motion?
to accept both years.
So there's a motion on the floor for both years, for 2 years. Is there a second?
Based on the fact that I don't think that we're gonna know anything more in October of next year than we know now, I'm going to second the motion.
So, Mrs. Miller makes the motion, Mr. Bailey seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
I'll do signal for you.
So, okay, yeah, I forgot to look at Mr. Gerges up there. So,
I think he's saying.
I don't have a preference one way or another, so we have,
Yeah, that's right, like I said, I preferred the 1 year, so.
so
That's 4, right?
Kamal, are you in favor of
The motion,
the motion that's on the floor of 2 years?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not a big fan of cutting our summer vacation short, but, yeah, I think it's all right. We'll try and see.
Okay. Okay. So with that, motion carries.
Just,
who said aye?
who said
The
nay? We didn't.
Oh, I'm
Did
sorry.
anyone-
All in favor
Said aye.
was, yeah,
Did anybody oppose?
and all opposed,
I guess I
Kirsten
opposed
said
because I
she
just
voted,
wanted to get.
she,
That's it.
It's not that
Well, I
Shepherd was
just
the calendar.
wanted
to-
I just wanted to try it for 1 year to see how it
yeah,
works.
that
So
was
that's my-
a train wreck, so,
Right.
yeah, so So the motion carried for a 2-year calendar,
Yes.
By one.
5 to 1.
Well. there's
6 to 1.
There's
Six to
seven.
Well, we don't know how you vote.
6-1 because.
Did you vote?
Did you vote for it?
Yeah, I voted for 2 years.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
6-1, okay, I just wanna make sure for the minute.
Don't. Let's see if we can do that again. So moving on, item number 2.
Mr. President and the board, I request permission from the board this evening to advertise for qualifications for any outside vendors or contractors that would be interested in custodial and maintenance services. Obviously, this is just a step that allows us to see if there is anyone that would, one, be interested, if they feel like expanding or looking into the services, and I think it would allow the board the opportunity to visit with those companies after we go through the request for qualifications and learn more. I know what we have, what little I have communicated from other school districts and even other individuals. We will, and I did had an opportunity to meet with the custodians and the maintenance and food service providers, that we were exploring the possibility. Obviously, it would be one that we would be able to control the agreement, and we would have to agree on everything, so no one would lose, wages or benefits. I mean, we would have to look at how that would play out in transition, along with lots of other things. I think as far as maintaining our own equipment, own resources, those types of things. So this is just permission from the board tonight to advertise for qualifications from companies, to see if, there may not be, we live in a different type of world. I don't know if, if companies are expanding right now or not. But then we could come back and look and have more conversations. The request for proposal for food service is something I will bring to you. We're not ready for it right now. It is a more formal process. That's why it's called an RFP instead of RFQ. And actually the state, the Department of Ed, will assign us a liaison to kind of look over and make sure, because it deals with federal funds and federal reimbursements, so we will have to follow the federal guidelines. And I don't wanna start both at the same time. And I think, it will allow us to stay focused on this, and then probably in February or March, as we learn more to see, then I'll come back with an RFP for the food service. So, the only other thing, a little bit on the food service, custodial maintenance, we are looking at, and I'm requesting from all of the kitchens, we do have some funds, like we would every year, that we invest, into our equipment. So we are looking at that. I think, I know one school that is a concern of ours, just replacing some equipment, is Bedford Middle School. They have several, the chest type deep freezers, and, we need to replace some of those more to a, more industrial and type freezers. So we're looking at different things like that, so. But this is just permission, just a request to advertise. Obviously, if we at one point would feel like it's something we want to explore, I think we would provide our employees an opportunity to hear from employees of another, maybe 1 or 2 different providers out there, to ask questions. How was the transition? I think it'd be an opportunity for the board and I to learn even from, maybe how the transition went in other schools, and learn and learn more about it. So it's not any commitment whatsoever, it is just an opportunity to explore. And it isn't that anyone in food service or myself or, you know, I know Donnie Zalman is here and also, Stacy Green, who is our food service director, and Alex now. I think not that anyone or anything has done anything to make us look at this, but it's just, is it a best practice? Is it better for our students? You know, are we gonna be able to provide better meals? Or is there a way that we can get more reimbursements? I know that there are schools out there, they're doing the breakfast, they're doing the lunch, they're doing the after school, they're even doing evening meals, and different opportunities. And I think too, we wanna look and see if it provides, some of our employees a better opportunity or more opportunities. So I just wanted to share a little bit, and I know we did share some information this week, and it was able to go out to the newspaper, you know, and some of the social media, or the media, to just share that we're taking a look at things. But that's all we're doing at this time.
And that was a question we had, we didn't see the food, service on
okay.
here, so that's what we were just kind of discussing that. And then I would say, you know, if we go through that process, mention, you know, our employees, I think it would be good, and maybe that's what you meant, to hear from employees of other corporations that, you know, are with a contractor or whatever, as, you know, and not just the contractor theirself, you know, if we could, you know, bring some of the employees in from, you know, from maintenance or in food service and custodial.
Who were employees of the school system before, but then are currently employees
Yes,
with it.
that would have made that transition, and,
Yeah.
you know, I think that would be
Trying
helpful.
to set up a panel where they could ask questions.
Yeah, good. Okay, any other questions on that?
I will make the motion. I assume we need a motion?
Good motion for that, right? Yeah, Mr. Lambert makes the motion, Mr. Bailey seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
This costs us nothing,
Correct.
and if it looks good for our students and our staff and our school system and our taxpayers, it's a win. And if it's not, we scrap it and we spend nothing, right? That's a clarification.
Any-
And I think historically, several people have told me it's something that has been maybe 5 years ago or past. I've not, you know, it's maybe been the topic of conversation. It's just exploring a little bit. I think you're absolutely correct.
Yes,
Very preliminary
yes.
exploration should be underscored so that people know we're not voting to do it. But
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah, we're just looking.
Any other questions or clarifications on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same.
Okay.
Just wanna make sure.
we did it.
Next up, I have for you, approval to hire Compass Keynote Consulting. Dr. Halleck has helped several school districts, in our region and all across the state, I think, engaging and getting information from the community. I did follow a little bit, in Jeffersonville where he worked with Greater Clark Schools. And I think it's just an opportunity for, myself and the board to receive some input from the community. So we are looking at, having a facility improvement study, and individuals from our community will have an opportunity to sign up and be a part of that facility study. It will be an opportunity through the different meetings that they will go and actually walk through and see our schools. And I think we will look at our facilities from a maintenance standpoint as far as, you know, roof, HVAC, you know, the safety of the building, the playgrounds, the equipment, number of entrances, but even go farther as far as the size of the classrooms. You know, what does the learning space look like? In the entire school. And I think looking at that in it as way, because we do know moving forward that we have debt that is falling off, and all schools have to replace that same amount of debt that falls off, or the tax rate will decrease, and it will go to other taxing units in the county. So basically, the school district has funds becoming available in 2 to 3 years. So it's something we need to start looking at as far as, you know, what does, and I'm hopeful that this allows the board some input from anyone from the community that would like to be a part of this, that they can share their thoughts. I don't think, we're looking at hopefully around 80 individuals and breaking them up into 4 different groups, or that when they would walk through, as far as groups of 15 to 20 people, but then having different reports or different thoughts shared back out as options. And I think with Dr. Halleck's experience, and I know you had an opportunity to see a couple of the reports that, you know, he had written, and the communities he's worked in, and so I bring that to you for your approval this evening. We will probably be posting, and then our goal is we'll have the dates and we'll share those out with those individuals. You know, we're going to have them apply, just so, one, we've got to get their information so we can communicate and contact with them. So we'll have an application on our website, so those individuals that would want to participate. And we're hopeful that we will have employees, we will have, you know, parents, community members, and try to build the 4 teams to have a mixture of different people from our community. And then our goal is to be able to have a report to the board in March, the end of March, by the end of March, by spring break.
Okay. Hey, motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Ben makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Mr. Bailey seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
I have a question about, can you talk about the memo about, you talk about the teams of people if they apply, how will those be chosen?
Dr. Halleck I'm gonna have kind of him look as we've went through, you know, as far as, I'm sure there'll be a place there, you know, if they're a parent, if they live in the district, you know, I mean, some different.
So we won't be involved in that and you won't be involved in
No,
choosing?
no.
And he just gets a broad spectrum,
He'll just get a broad spectrum, and I think try to not have all of the teachers on one team, or not have all of the, maybe parents on one team, or, you know, taxpayers or business leaders. And
My only concern is people feeling excluded through that process, because that's not that big of a number, so that's my only concern about it.
And I think if we need to go larger, we can. In his expertise, like in, you know, Jeffersonville, Greater Clark schools, which represents 3 high schools in a large region, they never made it to the 80 number. You know, and it has the dates listed, you know, and it's 7 meetings. We're doing some on Thursday evenings and some on Saturday mornings. And I think to have that, and you know, hopefully we do. And if we need to, there probably isn't a reason that we couldn't add more. But I know he did some at Crown Point. Where was the other one where they closed? Hammond. So he's done some in larger areas, and we'll see. And if we need to, I think it is an opportunity that we can have more. We want to include and not exclude, and he's going to, and that's where we've been able to, you know, hire someone, so it's not you or I or anyone. And I think then the board, when you get the information, hopefully you feel like we've done our very best to get information from our community, from those members that went through on our studies, and different options or thoughts on how they think we could improve our facilities.
Any other, questions? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same.
I'm gonna vote no on that.
Mrs. Miller votes no. Mr. Gertis?
He was a yes. I mean, he did two thumbs up.
He appeared to be a yes. He's, yes, that's a thumbs up.
6-1, for the record. Moving on, item 4.
Last up, tonight, for the board, I have we have our Guaranteed Energy Savings Project, which Performance Services has assisted us with. I think first I wanna clearly say where the funds are coming from for these projects. We had a 2019 bond that we went through the process, received the money in 2020. It was 5.3 million that we had, 2.6 million to go on the different athletic facilities and improvements that we wanted to make out at the high school, but we also allocated 2.6 to go towards our schools, elementary schools or HVAC work or roofing. So we have those funds left over. The other funds that we're looking at using, we received ESSER funds, which is our, ESSER funds, which was our stimulus funds we recently received. 20% of those funds has to go towards learning loss, towards our students, but we're also looking at a one-time expense to make these types of improvements, so that would be the additional funds. So these are funds that we have, we need to expend these funds, you know, it's not any new money. Part of it, honestly, we probably would have done something last summer, but with COVID and, you know, going through the bid process, we just didn't get it done. What I have for you this evening, is the improvements that they are proposing that we make. One would be at the Bedford North Lawrence High School to redo the air handlers, the original air handlers for the air handler room that was done with the auxiliary gym, with the PAC, in kind of the mezzanine area, there's 3 large air handlers in there. The one air handler, which does the auxiliary gym, did not have the cooling coils on it. It is not air-conditioned space. It's always caused a little bit of a challenge when you have such a large area of unconditioned space and where you're not controlling the humidity. So I think as we look to replace those 30-plus year units, that it makes sense to do all 3 and then put the cooling coils in. So we're looking at that. And then also at the Learning Center, it is a school that we would like to and we need to upgrade the original HVAC system that is in that school. We have struggled with humidity in that school. I think along with the Guaranteed Energy Savings Contract, it is one of the schools that we haven't done anything with the LED lighting, so we could be able to put that in there. And it will be an opportunity. I think we'll also upgrade along the ceiling tile to the, 2x2 from the traditional 2x4 area. So for both of those projects with the North Lawrence Learning Center, and you have the improvement list, and also at the high school to see in more details, I would recommend that we approve the installation contract with Performance Services and not to exceed $4.7 million, $31,391. So, for all of the projects combined, not to exceed that amount. And those funds would come out of bond that we've already, the remaining funds from the bond, and then our ESSER funds.
I will make that motion.
Mr. Lundberg makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Mr. Bailey seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
So just to be clear, this money that's being used, can it be used for teacher salary?
Now,
Good question.
and the reason, it's a one-time money. So if we would never spend that because it's not reoccurring. So no, I mean, these funds, 20% of it is going to be spent on learning loss directly for the students, tied to the students. But a majority, in fact, I really haven't heard of any school that isn't spending a portion of their funds on heating and cooling and HVAC systems.
So we are prohibited from using any of that for teacher salary.
I don't know of anyone that is. Prohibited is a big word, I don't know, but I also know it is federal money.
I just wanna know if it's possible, or is it,
We wouldn't be
Is it-
able to sustain a contract.
right, it wouldn't be, but could we give them a stipend or, you know?
Well, what we have done, and I think last year when we looked for a lot of the teachers, we've spent about $300,000 in stipends and in extra things that went to the teachers. So I know Mrs. Dayton is looking at ways that, you know, when we talk about that learning loss, that is
Right.
additional help, and that is funding, additional funding towards those teachers or summer school programs or, you know, those types of things. But just you couldn't just put it into your, you know, we couldn't transfer it into our education fund and then start paying it into
Okay.
reoccurring salaries.
And you're just talking about the ESSER money, 'cause
Yes.
the bond is.
Right, the
already
bond is-
spelled out what
Yes,
we're gonna do
yeah.
with that.
The bond is a set, right,
And that
correct.
had to be for building improvement.
Yeah, I was talking
Correct.
about the ESSER
Okay.
money,
What I read on ESSER funds, you know, there's an ESSER one, ESSER two, and from my understanding, the biggest thing that was promoted for that to be used for was HVAC upgrades because
It was the quality of our air control. Was-
air, it was, yeah,
I
it's indoor
mean,
air quality is what the big thing was.
so I don't want to not use something to give teachers even a stipend if it's one time, if that's possible. If it is not possible and we are bound to use it for something else, then that's fine. But I thought that we had to use it that we couldn't use it for teachers, and then I was getting the sense that maybe that wasn't correct. So that's why I asked.
Okay. So, do we have?
I think we have a motion in a second.
Motion and
Motion and second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same.
I'm gonna abstain just because I'm not sure how to split, because I do approve of some of it, but no. What?
He's abstaining.
He's abstaining.
Is that even possible? I mean, how can we abstain
I don't-
if you don't have I think you can we just abstain for no, I mean.
I can say no.
You can say yes or no.
I'll say no,
It's the
that's
same.
fine, you can change mine to no. No, and I don't know.
And I think that's, I think that mine's a no, not because, I mean, I know these places need, and we are gonna get a chance to explain our votes. I know these places need new HVAC, but, it's a lot of, it's just a lot of money, and I just wasn't, I guess I just wasn't prepared to spend that much money, to spend quite that much money tonight. So, I'm not saying that might not be a yes at some point, but that was the reason behind my no, and I guess my no doesn't matter because I'm minority, so.
It matters.
So, seeing that, be, 4 to approve and 3 nays, motion carries. Moving on, item I, persons to address the board.
I got one thing I forgot to mention when, Mrs. Wenzak, on our personnel, I did notice that we had, I think, 2 retirements, is that right?
We do, and they had turned them in prior,
Okay.
so they have been mentioned.
They
but-
haven't mentioned before, okay, okay.
Yes.
I just saw them on there again, but I think we talked about this too. So they'll be at the end of the year when we have our little retirement.
They will be invited back,
They'll be invited back.
but it is time for them to actually leave us.
Oh, okay. They're really
Semester,
going, okay.
so yes, we put them back on there at, Maria Edwards at 30.5 years and Frank Winton at 32.5 years.
That's
And
awesome.
they actually will not be returning after
Aw.
Christmas.
Okay, I'd like to thank them for their years of service.
Yes.
Thank you.